When we think of Roman gladiators, we often imagine fearless warriors wielding swords and fighting to the death in front of bloodthirsty crowds. But the truth about these ancient combatants is far more complex and much more shocking than what Hollywood would have us believe. 1. Gladiators weren't always slaves. Contrary to popular belief, not all gladiators were slaves forced to fight for their lives. Yes, many were prisoners of war, slaves, or criminals condemned to fight in the arena. But what might surprise you is that a significant number of gladiators were free men. Some were volunteers, choosing the gladiator lifestyle for fame, fortune, or to pay off debts. In fact, being a gladiator was seen by some as a chance to climb the social ladder despite the risks. These free men signed contracts, and though their lives were harsh, they often had some degree of autonomy over their careers. 2. Gladiators were highly trained athletes. While we often think of gladiators as wild savages fighting to the death, the reality was that they were more like professional athletes of their time. These men were trained in specialized schools known as ludi, where they learned different fighting styles, tactics, and how to handle various weapons. Each gladiator had a specific fighting style, whether it was the heavily armored myrmillo or the net-wielding retiarius. They underwent rigorous physical training and even received medical care to keep them in peak condition. After all, they were valuable investments for their owners. 3. Gladiatorial combat wasn't always to the death. One of the biggest misconceptions about gladiator fights is that they always ended in death. In reality, most fights didn't. Gladiators were expensive to train and maintain, so their owners were reluctant to let them die easily. Battles often ended when one fighter was too injured to continue, and it was up to the editor, the sponsor of the games, or the crowd to decide if the defeated gladiator would live or die. The infamous thumbs up or thumbs down gesture we often see in movies is actually inaccurate. What mattered more was whether the crowd believed the gladiator had fought bravely. 4. Female gladiators were a real thing. Yes, you heard that right. Women fought as gladiators too. Known as gladiatrices, female gladiators were not as common as their male counterparts, but they did exist. Their fights were often seen as novelty events and weren't as prestigious as male gladiator matches, but they still drew large crowds. These women would engage in combat with each other, or even with wild animals. Although they were eventually banned by Emperor Septimius Severus in 200 AD, their presence in the arena speaks to how much the Romans valued spectacle and entertainment, regardless of gender. 5. Gladiators were celebrities. In many ways, gladiators were the superstars of ancient Rome. They had fan followings, sponsorship deals, often from wealthy patrons, and even merchandise. Their likenesses would appear on mosaics, lamps, and other everyday objects. Some gladiators became so famous that their images were used for political propaganda. And yes, some women in ancient Rome were said to have been quite enamored with gladiators, with rumors of love letters and even affairs with these fighters circulating among Roman society. 6. The arena was a political tool. The gladiatorial games weren't just about entertainment. They were deeply political. Roman emperors and politicians used the games to curry favor with the masses. Offering free games and lavish spectacles in the Colosseum or other arenas helped keep the public distracted and loyal, a practice known as bread and circuses. By providing a controlled outlet for violence, the games allowed the emperor to demonstrate his power while ensuring the people were entertained and, importantly, pacified. 7. Life outside the arena was grim. While some gladiators achieved fame and even fortune, most lived harsh and brutal lives. When not fighting, they were kept in barracks-like conditions with strict discipline enforced by their trainers. Injuries were common, and despite medical care, many gladiators lived with chronic pain. While the most successful gladiators could earn their freedom and retire, many others didn't live long enough to enjoy such luxuries. The reality is that gladiators were often seen as disposable, their lives spent for the amusement of the crowd. 8. Gladiators had a code of honor. One of the lesser-known facts about gladiators is that they operated under a strict code of conduct. Even though they were fighting for survival, they were expected to show courage, discipline, and honor in the arena. Cowardice or showing fear was frowned upon, and gladiators who fought bravely could gain the respect of the crowd, even in defeat. There was a certain nobility attached to how a gladiator fought and died, and this helped elevate their status despite the brutality of their profession. The world of the Roman gladiators was one of contradictions, both brutal and honorable, both feared and admired. These men and women were more than just fighters in an arena. They were central figures in Roman society, shaping culture, politics, and entertainment in ways that still captivate us today. So the next time you think of a gladiator as a simple slave fighting for his life, remember the complex and often shocking reality behind the myth. Thanks for watching. If you found this video eye-opening, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell for more deep dives into the fascinating and sometimes dark corners of history. See you next time.